Hello and welcome back to the Joyful Soul Creates. Charlotte here, and today I'm sharing 10 pattern paper cards using the Simon Says Stamp April card kit and the Simple Stories Spring Farmhouse papers that came in the kit. I will also use some of the stickers which are also Spring Farmhouse collection, and for each of these cards I will show at the beginning of the video segment I will show the sketch that I used for the cards, and there is absolutely no stamping on any of these cards. It's just the pattern papers and the stickers, so you can make these with very limited supplies. For the first card I'm going to be making a shaker card, and I'm starting with one of the cutter parts. Most of the cards I make today in this video will use the cutter parts as the focal points. I started by cutting away the center of that Happy Blooming Birthday cutter part from the frame, and I will keep both parts. I then cut a panel of similar pattern paper with the kind of black background floral pattern paper, and I will adhere the center of my cutter part onto that to be the back of my shaker element. For the remaining part of the cutter part piece, I'm going to put double-sided tape on the back and adhere it to a piece of acetate, and that will create my shaker window. I then put foam tape all around the frame, and I'll use my anti-static powder tool to remove any static cling from that to prevent the sequin sticking to it. Then I'm going to put my sequins that I have chosen onto the backing elements of the shaker and adhere the front window onto it, and that makes the little shaker element. So then all that's left to do is adhere it to the card base, and I use Tombow Monomolte liquid glue to do this, and that gives a little bit of wiggle room to get it into position. I put something heavy on it to hold it in place as the glue set, and then I'm going to just finish it off with one of the arrow stickers from the sticker sheets, and that completes the very first card, which is my birthday shaker card. A little bit more involved than some of the other ones coming up, but I thought it was a fun one to start with. Card number 2 is a bit more simple, and I'm using a freshly made sketch for this one. Again, I'm going to use my Tombow Monomolte liquid glue, and I will adhere the central element of my sketch, and that is with the striped pattern paper. So I'll use the lines on my grip mat to help make sure I get this correctly lined up onto my white card base. All of the card bases I'm using for these cards are made of Nina 110 pounds cardstock, and they are A2 sized. The matting for this card I'm using a kind of browny black goldish pearlized card. For the mats for my cards, on a lot of these cards I used snippets from Love from Lizzie card kits. A lot of them are pearlized cards or mirror cards. I matted my focal point, which is another one of the cutter parts, onto the same pearlized card as I'd used for those strips either side, and I'm adding one of the stickers onto it, and I will use my anti-static powder tool to remove the stickiness from that sticker after I've put it in place, because I don't want it to stick down to the card behind it. I then just put some more liquid glue onto the back of that focal panel and positioned it on my striped piece on the card base, and that will complete my second card. Moving on to my third card, and this time I'm using an Operation Right Home sketch, and I decided to use green pearlized card for the mats on this one, and as you can see the mats are almost like frames because I gutted away the centers so that I can use them on future projects. I chose the pearlized green because I thought it went with the kind of greeny colours that are in the focal panel cutter part that I'm using this time. So I have matted my back panel and that focal panel onto the pearlized card. I will then adhere the back panel onto the card base, and this checkered paper, the black and white checked paper, I actually used quite a lot throughout the cards that I made today. I'm then adding a striped pattern down the center of the card, and I used the yellow stripes rather than the multicolored stripes this time. And then I decided to use foam tape to pop up my focal point this time, and again I can use the stripes and the check pattern to make sure that my focal panel is lined up nice and straight, and that will complete card number 3. Moving on to card number 4. This time I have actually flipped around the sketch I used, so the sketch is landscape and I flipped it to be portrait, but you can still see the bones of the sketch. I'm using a kind of silvery pearlized card for my mats this time, and again I have gutted away the centers so I can use those snippets on future projects. I'm using the multicolored stripe pattern paper and a cut apart that has a coffee mug on it, and then I'm going to use another bit of that black and white checked paper to make my flag element. So I will just cut a flag end into that pattern paper piece, and then I'm going to adhere it onto another mat of that silver piece and cut the flag ends into the mat as well. And then because of the volume that my striped panel and cut apart panels have, just because of the layers, even though I've adhered them down flat to my card base with liquid glue, the layers in them themselves do cause a little bit of volume. So when I adhere the flag element, I do put some foam tape behind the bit that will be directly on the card base, and that will just pop it up and help it keep it more level with the more layered parts that it is overlapping. The flag end though did seem a little bit loose, so I just lifted it up slightly so I could tuck some glue in under it to adhere it into place so it wouldn't be flapping around. So that completes card number 4. Card number 5 is a thank you card using a Sketch Saturday sketch. And I'm just going to use some of the striped pattern paper again, and my blade on my paper cutter left some kind of fuzzy edges on these. So I'm just using my sand eraser to neaten those up, and then I'm going to adhere each of those 3 strips into place using some double-sided tape, and I'm adhering them onto gold mirror card. That's what I'm using for my mats for this card. I thought the shine and colour worked really well with the other elements that I have, and I did have just a little bit too much on one side, so I trimmed that away with my paper cutter. Then I'll mat my focal element, which is another cut part, onto its gold mirror card and adhere the elements into place. I'm just using liquid glue this time to keep them flat and not add too much volume, and that completes card 5. For card number 6, I really did use snippety pieces for my matting elements. I really wanted to use pearlized pink. I thought that worked well with the other pieces I had, but I did not have any pieces big enough to create the mats, so I ended up piecing them together. There are slight lines where the pieces connect, so to say, but they're not immediately obvious, and I think if you don't know they are there, you may not notice them. This is a good way to get around the problem of not having a big enough piece for what you want to do. You can kind of add them together and make it work. So once I had my backing piece down, which is again that black and white check paper, I will add the focal panel and a strip of the pale pink pattern paper across the bottom. And then I have one of the stickers, and I'm just going to put that overlapping my focal panel. And as a final touch, even though it's not in the sketch, I decided to add some ebony black Nuvo drops onto that light pink strip. I just thought it finished it off nicely, and that will finish my 6th card. And then for card number 7, I'm going to be using black mats. Again, I've gutted the centers away. I thought the black worked really nicely with this black floral heart that my focal panel has. I used the pink and white checked background this time, which is a bigger check than the black and white one I've been using a lot of, and that's going to be my background panel, and then I will add my focal cut apart on top of that. And this sketch has a sentiment strip that comes across, but as I already had a sentiment on the cut apart, I decided to add a banner flag again, and I'm again using that black and white checks, so I just added that into place instead of the sentiment strip that the sketch called for, and that will complete card 7. For card 8, I'm going to be using a sticker as my focal point instead of a cut apart, and I'm using the bicycle sticker, and I thought this would go very well with the bicycle pattern paper, so that's what I'm putting together. I'm matting them on satin mirror card. It's kind of a silvery gold colour, and I gutted away the center again for the main panel, but not for the sticker panel. So that background panel, once I have it matted, I will adhere it to my card base. And then I have 2 narrow strips left over from some of my other pattern papers, and I'm going to cut flag ends into these. This time I'm not going to mount my flags on any matting. I thought they didn't need it this time, but you could do that if you want to. So I'll just cut the flag ends into both of those and then work out exactly how I want to arrange them on my card base. I have again this time flipped the sketch around because I thought it worked better in landscape than in portrait for this one. I'll adhere the sticker panel onto those flag pieces and cut away the excess so I can use those strips for something else perhaps. And then I'm going to adhere that panel onto the background card once I've worked out exactly where I want it. I did consider popping it up on foam tape, but I decided actually just to leave it flat. And that completes card number 8. For card number 9, again, I'm not using a cut part as a focal point. This is another Operation Right Home sketch, and I decided not to use any mats on this one. So I have a piece of the black and floral pattern paper as my background panel. I'm going to adhere a strip of that yellow stripe paper over the top. And then I have a die cut circle of the pattern paper with the words on it, which I'm again going to adhere over the top, and I use liquid glue for all of these. And then I have the love sticker from the sticker sheet, and I'm just going to adhere that over where the word bloom was. And again, I can use the lines on my striped paper to help me line that up. And as with one of my previous cards, I decided I would add some ebony black Nuvo drops onto that strip just to finish this card off. So that will finish card number 9. Moving on to card number 10, my final card. I didn't use a sketch for this one, and I just went through all the pattern papers I had left to try and work out what I wanted to use. I noticed this kind of cactus succulent pattern paper, and I hadn't used it at all, so I thought I'd use that as my background. I then went through all the snippets I had left over and pulled out some that I thought went together well, and just played around arranging different bits and pieces until I was happy with how it looked. So I decided to use 3 strips of pattern paper here, and I thought I would add some stickers. So I'm going to use the bird with the succulents in pots, and I'm going to use a sentiment sticker strip as well. My layout does change very slightly once I put it all together, but I'm still happy with it. If you are sure you like it exactly how it is when you originally lay it out, you could take a photo with your phone to make sure you get it exactly right the next time. I did bring in another little snippet to edge the bird patterned paper because I felt it was getting a bit lost otherwise. And then I adhered all my elements into place using Tombow Monomolte liquid glue again, and that will complete my 10th and final card. So that's all 10 of the cards I made with the pattern paper and stickers from the card kit. I hope you enjoyed them. I think these are quite good to make if you have limited supplies, because it really is mostly just the papers and the stickers. There's not any stamping or anything like that. If you would like to see an example of using the stamps from the kit, I'll have a video on screen using the stamp set for another 10 card one kit video. And there's also another video showing a card I made using the die and some watercolour and dark cardstock if you would like to see that. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the thumbs up button, and you could let me know in a comment below which of these cards was your favourite. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye!